All right, folks, good evening. My name is Heather Nickerson, co-founder and CEO of Artifacts. I'm thrilled tonight to kick off our second in our fall 2024 series, Eating Artifacts. Tonight, we're going to be talking about saving and sharing photos and stories. I am joined by my co-founder, Ellen Goodwin, and our guest, Kristen Goodman, with Clicking with Kristen. We are excited to walk through not only the importance of tonight's topic, why in this digital age, being able to combine the photo and the story to make things relevant is ever important. We will show you how to do so with a live demo, both using our app and the web platform. And of course, we're going to leave plenty of time for questions and answers, and for you all to artifact along with us as the night progresses. So with that, I'm going to kick things off and hand it over to Ellen to get us started tonight. And please feel free to pop into chat any questions you have at any time. Thanks so much. Ellen, over to you.
Thanks, Heather. And while Heather lets me share my screen, I am going to just say welcome. And Heather, otherwise you can bring up my PowerPoint as well. So 1 second. So we are excited. Photos are something.
You should be good to go, Ellen. I thought we did that at the beginning.
Photos are something that we get asked about all the time at Artifacts. And so we were really excited to do a special edition of this because, as you see on the screen, photos can't talk, but we really do want to help you capture those stories. And tonight we're doing a little bit different with, you don't normally see slides from us, but we're doing just a few to set the scene because over the last 3 years, we have heard so much about photos. And here's what's happening. The status here right now is really unpleasant for a lot of folks. We have photo albums, an abundance of them. These are actually some of mine, and you can see they're falling apart. They weren't intended to last forever. These weren't the high quality ones. I went to Kohl's or Shopko, where I grew up in Wisconsin. We also are subjected more and more to metadata. And I say subjected because normal humans do not want to look at the metadata on this photo of my mother. To understand where they were, when they were, and why it mattered to them. This isn't a pleasant experience. I don't want to add captions and metadata. What am I going to do with that? And then here too, we have collections of photos. Some of them are beautiful older ones, but these that are in this photo on the far right was literally in a bag in my parents' travel trunk in their never used anymore master bedroom. So these are relegated to, well, AI software, if we want to figure out who's actually in the photos, I suppose. But this is kind of our status quo. The idea that photos are worth 1,000 words is something that Heather and I like to challenge all the time. You see the little outtake photo, I was helping my parents to prepare to digitize an old scrapbook. This scrapbook had a few words here and there. The problem is, as I went through, I paused on this photo and I took a picture of the picture because I was like, what gives? My mother does not ever play tennis. This might as well be a Halloween costume. And my daughter's coming through the room and she leans over me and she looks and she's like, what are you doing? Kind of annoyed as teenagers are. Like, why are you taking this picture? And who is it? So my daughter didn't even know this was my mother. And the irony about this is what we tell people is 1 generation removed and that story is gone. I had no idea why on earth my mother was ever in a tennis outfit. And a 2nd generation, and it's a genealogy project. And that's what's happening in the current climate, which has been exacerbated by the advent of digital photography. We have lost the story thread. We take an average of 5.3 billion photos every day worldwide. That is a daunting statistic. And what we've traditionally done is share them in text and email. And occasionally we get our act together and we're very proud of ourselves and we make a photo book or a photo calendar. But we don't print a lot of them anymore. And we don't have a uniform way that we're sharing the pivotal moments of them. And even in the organizing industry, what is the advice? Take a photo, keep the memory, let it go. And then 1 day later, that photo is 20 back, then it's 100 back, 1,000 back on your phone. You forgot you even took a picture of it. You never did anything to share it, and you certainly haven't captured the story. So this is kind of the reality of what we are fighting against and why people keep coming to us to talk about photos. I'm going to turn it over here to our guest, Kristen Goodman, because she has a lot to say about the value of organizing as the critical first step and where it can take you next. Kristen?
Well, thanks, girls, for having me. I'm so excited to be part of this and share what I'm doing with Artifacts now. So, like they were talking about, I love how she has organizing isn't about the stories, but I love pictures and stories. And there's so many different ways to tell the stories, but just like how Ellen mentioned, it's like if one person's out of the equation there, you might miss that story. So I loved how you said that was a Halloween costume. That was hilarious. Like I think my kids would think that too. So they just think of how everybody would always think that if you didn't use your artifact. So I was lucky to have Heather on a call last week, and she shared so much more with even myself about how we can use artifacts for organizing purposes and how to tell the story with our photos. So some of the things that she has here on the screen is like different things you can organize with using Lightroom, Google Photos, your Apple Photos, Shutterfly, all the different things, Mylio. But sometimes, people just want to do something simple and easy. And I feel like Artifacts is one of those things that makes it simple and easy. So I just traveled to Indiana outside of the Cincinnati area. My niece got married, and my husband is a wildlife and nature photographer. So I was so proud of myself because I'm motivated now with Artifacts. There's do you want to share my screen, or do I need to share my screen? Let me get on
You
there.
should do it, Kristen.
I need to do it. Let me find myself here. Let me get it. If I can get it. Can you see me or no?
Yes.
You can? Okay. So there's my artifact. This is my artifact. So I mentioned my husband's a wildlife and nature photographer, and every time we go visit my family, there's just never anything to do, right? So he Googled Highland cows, and who knew you could go drive from Indiana to a little farm in Kentucky and go see these Highland cows instead of going to Scotland. So on my way back on the airplane, I sorted my pictures. I love how Artifacts now you can pick 5 things to tell about, and one of them is a video. I have a granddaughter, so I was telling her that Grammy is looking at the cows. Look at the cows. So that's my video. But how cool, I could even put Dennis's website link here. So if I click this, it's going to take you directly to his website where he edited his picture of one of the cows. So his is a lot better than mine, too. But I just thought, how cool is that I can even put that in there to direct his edited pictures versus just my phone pictures. So I just thought that was just the coolest thing. So now I got to try to get back to my artifact. Let me get back there and get out of his website. Help, girls. What do I do? Now I'm stuck in his website.
Just click the tab on the top in the bar next to the tab you're in. I see the
Where
green
am I at?
artifacts circle.
That.
Nope, the
No,
tab.
that's,
Up.
I don't see.
Yep.
Wait.
Up. Over.
Over.
Left.
Left. Where am I? No. Help me.
So up in the tabs of your browser,
Oh, gotcha.
I see the
Okay.
artifacts tab.
I see it. There it is. Okay, my bad. There we go. I'm just too excited about my cow. But what was so great is I put a couple pictures that I took there myself. Here's Dennis and I with our little cows, and me with my little brush to pet the cows. And I wanted to put one in my pocket, but they were, just to tell the story about what they are, it was just so great. Here's my little video blurb with the mama and the baby. So I was so excited to have that. Isn't that great? She was so cute with her little baby. And then this is kind of funny. I had just shared, I'm from the Midwest, like how you said you're from Wisconsin. Do you know what those are? Do you know what them are? So that is called a thistle.
Oh, I knew it was a thistle. I thought it was a special thistle. Yes.
Nope.
Nasty.
So they were in the
Taking
field.
shots.
And one of my friends, I just shared with her, like we have like all these strange different plants, and there was thistles in this field. So it was just kind of fun. I had to take a picture, and I'm going to tell my story about my thistle. But I just thought this is just so cool to be able to, pop that right in. I just came back Monday night, and I already artifacted my little cows and a couple other things.
So Kristen, you just embedded in there a few really key points that we should highlight for folks.
Okay.
One, did you notice that she was organizing and looking through her photos on the airplane home? There's something about doing it when it's fresh and staying on top of it, because those digital photos, they will run you over really hardcore. So there's something about that is the timeliness of it. Two, she added in a linked text to another site. I do this all the time as well. It's a great, great resource, especially when you're linking to professional photography. And third, if you notice, she's using a lot of tags. And the tags are great because if she goes back to Kentucky and she tags other future artifacts Kentucky, when she clicks the Kentucky tag, she'll see everything she's ever done in Kentucky, which would be really amusing at some point if it started with selling cows, let's face it.
Right.
So I think that's a really cool, we just got a few nice little tidbits there with this one artifact.
One, I think as a business owner and a busy photo organizer person for myself, this helps me to do the thing that I love with pictures too. And I only had to pick 5 things, not 500 things. And like, I just felt like I did something for myself, not just doing it for other people and teaching other people. So as a business person that does this for business, I was like, look, I did my own thing. And I'm like so excited about it, so. But
It's
I think it's
amazing.
doable for busy people. Like it's so doable. Like this just, it fits.
And I'm going to jump into an example and share screen before we turn over into the interactive piece of this. You know, your point about busy people, I think that goes back to the timeliness of staying on top of our photos. And so I'm going to share a screen and show you one example of exactly this, but it makes a second point as well. So my daughter, if you've ever heard me talk on Evenings with Artifacts before, she is a swimmer that here at UT Austin. I have a million photos of this child swimming, a million, right? I mean, she's been swimming for years already, half her lifetime. But there was this one photo where she's smiling at me and flexing her arms. It's because it was her first BB time in USA swimming. She had worked literally years for this achievement. And I was so excited for her, fierce proud mom. So I literally in the stands at the swim center took less than 30 seconds probably. I opened up my phone. I went to the photo. I went to the video of the swim, the start of it, it's loud, and the end of it. And I made the artifact on the spot. I came in later and I expanded the story a little bit, but I did artifact it on the spot. Now, when you create an artifact of a photo, a moment like this, like Kristen's, I find it more magical when I can also include video. And sometimes I just do audio because I don't have video and I tell the story because it's always best in your own voice. But I tag everything with my daughter with her name. And then we at Artifacts automatically, when you save an artifact that has a video or audio, we will automatically tag it as such so that you can easily go back and find any of your artifacts that have video or audio in them. But this is a great example of we are all busy people, but you can do it in 30 seconds while that is fresh on your phone before it becomes one of a million photos. And so that's an example I wanted to leave you with before we kind of go into like, let's make some examples and show you some other ones with our best tips. Heather, would you like me to go into screen share now?
That would be fabulous, Ellen.
All right, folks. So I hope that you have an Artifacts account on your screen or you have it on your phone. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to screen share because I want you to see how I do it on the phone. You might choose photos that you already have on your device. Now keep in mind, since I'm sharing up here already, keep in mind that when you create an artifact, you can pull in files that you have on your device, Google, Box, Dropbox, or otherwise. So you can pull them in from other locations. They'll have you sign in securely to those accounts, but you can pull them in from elsewhere. So here we go. Let's hope modern technology cooperates. And I'm going to screen share from my phone. Miracle. Okay, here we go, folks. So I am signed into my app, the Artifacts app, under my account. It's important to sign in first. We do, for security reasons, sign you up pretty often. You have facial recognition. Hopefully that's not driving you crazy. So I'm going to actually go to my photos. I'm in my favorites. You see my daughter. She's quite funny. So I'm going to talk about summer love and summer moments in this artifact and choose.
Hey, Ellen, I'm not
Yes.
sure your phone is mirroring to the screen.
Oh, it might still be sharing on the other one. Let's try this again. Because it is definitely. All right, folks, let's try this again. Glad someone told me before I made the whole artifact.
Yep, you just had it.
All right, can you all see me now?
Yes.
All right,
Perfect.
great. Let me back up a step. I am signed in on the app. You're seeing all my most recent artifacts. I am going to go to my photos. I'm in my favorites, and I've just selected some summer love photos. I've already curated them. I've cheated, and I'm in my favorites. Although we do have a tip from last year's Evenings with Artifacts. One of our community members, he has a folder in his phone and it's labeled artifacts. So he actually puts photos and videos in there that he wants to get to, kind of his to-do list for artifacting, which I think is genius. So I've selected 5 summer love kind of photos, and I'm going to choose our app, Artifacts. Now, if I didn't have the app there, if you haven't used our app a lot, you might not see it. You might have to scroll all the way to the right and go to more. And when you go to more, you'll be able to see that Artifacts app on your phone. But I've used it recently. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say I want to make a new artifact. And it is loading up those photos. Now, for every single photo, I can choose, this is a funny photo, if I would like to make it my cover photo, meaning when I hit save, it's the first photo you'll see. I can choose to rotate it and do crazy things that way if it's useful. I can choose to crop it, or I can go to a square crop, snap. We'll do that just for funsies. No, I don't. I want to see the whole thing. Okay. And I can add a caption if I want to. Violet and Sherlock. Oops. Sherlock. Say farewell. This photo is of her and our dog as she was leaving for summer camp. And here she is again. This is me picking her up from camp. This is actually her with my co-founder Heather's daughter, Hazel. We went on a sailboat. And this is her when we were on vacation and she was trying to make a tiki guy face. So this is what I call summer fun. And this is sand in Hawaii in a jar that tells you to have peace in your life. I forget what it says, but it's kind of cool. And now I'm going to save. So I went through all of them. If I wanted to go back, just keep in mind on the app, you can click manage media and I can go back. I can always click and make a different one a cover photo by tapping it. I can also click and drag and reorder them. So I have options. I can also click and edit a specific one again if I wanted to change it. Save photo. I'm going to make the crazy one the cover photo. I'm done. All right. Now, just like on desktop, if you're on desktop, there's the same required field. I have to name it. Summer Lovin'. I have to say what it is. I'm going to do photo, oops, if I could type, photograph under life moments. Done. And then here I can type out my story, or I can click the microphone in the bottom here. I can tell the story by recording it, and I hope that I enunciate properly. Well, not quite. And then I choose a country of origin. I'm going to say United States, but I could also say unknown or not applicable. I could say multiple. It's up to you. Now, this is new, and I did this on purpose so you would see it. We get a lot of feedback from folks who don't necessarily want to fill in the country field. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If you have a lot of items from your world travels, you're going to want country, or you just bought pieces that you're collecting. So now we give you the option to save as a default. If you chose unknown or the US, you can save that as your default. Now I'm going to say yes, that's going to be my default, so I don't have to fill in this required field, but I can always change it. I can simply X that one out and I can choose US again if I wanted to. So you can always change it, but that is new and it happens on desktop as well. In the future, now with photos like this, digital photos, I don't tend to use it a lot, but in the future is a field that I use almost always. And I will confess that almost everything I artifact, because I don't have a lot of, kind of valuable collections, I almost always choose as you wish, which is something we stole from the Princess Bride. And it means I won't haunt you. Do not keep this in your basement for the next 20 years on my account. You can do what you want. So that's that. Documentation. Now, in this case, these are just original photos, but we'll give you examples later, and if you would like to see them. But documentation is fabulous if you are artifacting a photo of a photo or on the wall, right? So I sometimes will have photos framed, and what I'll do is I will put in documentation the original photo file. So if I ever want to reproduce it again, I have instant access and I don't need to go into my photo library to find it again. And then here are those tags. So we do have popular tags that you can scroll through. I might do something like summer road trip, summer fun, something like that. And of course, well, my daughter was in that, so I would say Violet as well. My top tag, done. Now, I don't necessarily want to make this one public, so I'm not going to toggle that, but I could toggle that and make it public. And I'm going to say done, saving my artifact. The funny thing is, my Artifacts account in my account settings is set to always share every artifact I make with my husband and daughter. So they are about to get this crazy artifact I just created. Now, it's saving all those files. It will still give me a final option. I can go back and share if I want to. I like to share and add comments to friends and family. I also have family sharing list that I've created. If you haven't created a sharing list, you can take a look at our FAQs. We also have a YouTube video about it, but that will be great as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing somehow at this point, and I'm going to turn it over to Heather.
Great. Thank you so much, Ellen. I'm going to pause for a quick moment while you are still here and still have your mobile device to see if there are any questions about how to create an artifact connecting the photo and the story on a mobile device before I jump into how to do so on your desktop or your laptop or your tablet. But just in case anyone had questions about what Ellen just did, pop in the chat and we'll keep on going. As a reminder, we are going to be looking at photos tonight and artifacts focused on the inspiration list we have for old photos. We popped that in the chat earlier if you want to follow along to that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, show you some examples like Ellen did, and then walk you through how to create the artifact and hope you all follow along either on your desktop, tablet, or other device. So. Oh, it looks like we've got one question before I start sharing. Let me quickly see. When you share with family, do they need to have the Artifacts app to view? Great question. They do not need to have the app. They can view the artifact from our website. They can also, depending if you're sharing the artifact publicly or privately. If you're sharing it privately, they will need to have a free account on our website, our app, but there's no need to have a paid account to view what you share to friends or family. And I can show you a quick example of that. Here is one. I'll use a photo example of our travel photos. This is a trip my husband and I took to Iceland last year. And I can tell you one iced covered mountain looks a lot like every other one out there, but I did artifact it with the videos. But here, though, it notes that I've shared. It's viewable to select users. If I can click on this to see it's viewable by one user, I can even go in and edit. That is viewable with my husband. I could choose to give him editor access, let him add details to the story. Maybe I forgot something. Maybe I want to give him full control access, and he could even add video, add audio. He could choose to delete the artifact if he wanted to. But when you share, you're able to control the role which you share with, viewer, editor, full control. And you're able to share with folks that have already Artifacts accounts. And if they don't have an account, you can see right here, you can share with an email address. So you can send it to them via their email. And again, if it's private, they will have to create a free account to view the address. We want to ensure that whoever you intend to share it with really is that person who's receiving the artifact. Hopefully that answered that question. Um, let me pop in and we're gonna artifact together. I do want to quickly, for those that haven't pulled up the checklist, this is the checklist. Rescue those photos. And this is why it's so important we're talking about this tonight, because again, photos can't talk. So we talk about nature and landscapes. A lot of nature photos look a lot like all the other photos. Thinking back to wedding photos, you probably have hundreds of photos for your wedding. Which ones matter? Which ones make you smile? Which ones make you laugh? Of those maybe 300, 400, 500 photos, which are the, dozen or so that you want your kids or grandkids or family or friends to remember? Those are the ones to artifact. Life's first, a lot of milestones are great examples to artifact. I have an artifact of my daughter learning to ride her bike. She will never remember that moment, and I probably would forget it too if I hadn't artifacted it. There's also vintage photos. Ellen's example of her mother and the tennis photo is a great example here, because again, 1 or 2 generations removed, and you don't know who is in the photo. Why is that photo even part of our scrapbook or our photo book? We've got some fun ones here as well. Pets, furried or feathered, those laugh out loud moments, and yes, travel adventures. So speaking of travel adventures, let's go ahead and follow along, and we can create, if you're following at home, create an artifact. So I am on our desktop browser using my laptop. It's very similar to what Ellen did in the app. I'm going to click plus here to add a new artifact. And let's walk through this process. All right, so I can drag and drop files here from my laptop. I can upload from my device. We can also import from some of the most common areas where your photos or files may be stored. So Google Drive, Box, OneDrive, and of course Dropbox. So I did cheat a little bit. I selected my photos ahead of time. I will share that we'll be artifacting tonight a travel adventure. It was a summer trip to Alaska. And after a while, one Alaskan fjord, although absolutely beautiful, looks very much like every other Alaskan fjord. You might see a pattern in my travels with fjords and icebergs and mountains. While these photos upload, I already picked 5 I wanted to include. I picked the 5 photos that tell the story of our day in Skagway and a hike that we did that ended up in the pouring rain. So while these upload, I'm going to name my art. And we get Skagway Adventures. What is it? Similar to what Ellen did, I'm going to go down here to Life's Moments and pick photographs. I'm also, because it's my first time ever in Alaska, I'm going to pick firsts. You can pick more than one category with your artifacts. And now for a story, we'll keep it short and sweet, but you can, 5 words, 5,000 is up to you. And we also have the tips here. So if you're curious of what to write, where do you start? Those are a great area to start. So I'm going to quickly just save the images as we go through. No need to crop. And I'll probably go back and add captions later when I have a bit more time to think about what I want to say. But for now, the important part is I got the 5 photos, the ones that really mattered from this portion of our trip here in the artifact. And I do want to move it around. I want to put this kind of in the order of which we saw it. So
Heather, while you're doing that, I'm smiling because I'm thinking about the people who upload 150, 250 photos into like a Facebook photo album. And I never know what to do with that. I'm like, it's so many photos and there's not even captions to help me out. I think there's a real art in curating down to five photos.
It definitely, for this adventure, it definitely was. We had, in this case, I think we had probably close to 3 dozen photos from our time in Skagway and the hike that we did. So it was really tough trying to pick which ones do I want. So for me, I love trail signs. So that was my first and foremost. I knew I had to have that photo. And then I got some of the more scenic or interesting moments from the hike. And then of course we had to have a couple of people in there. It's not just rocks and water. So
Kristen, I'm curious, do you have any curation tips that work when you're dealing with this kind of thing, travel?
Well, I'm just loving the whole get it down to 5 things because like you were saying, like, and just like I was gonna comment when you said about Facebook, like I told you said the exact thing, no captions, no information, just looky look, like look at what we did. And there's nothing there. So the one thing I was gonna ask, since you put I'm always a year month person. So I wanted to say, so when you put your title there, Heather, would you put your year month there? I know it can go somewhere else because you can select when it was, but like when I name my artifact, or maybe other people, like I kind of like it. Should I put my year there in front of Skagway Adventures, or like why do you choose not to?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kristen. So so in this case, I can easily go back and add that in, and I just did. For
Yep.
me, that's probably once in a lifetime trip. So I don't think I'll be getting back to Alaska anytime soon. So I didn't add the date or the year there. On the other hand, I have been to Iceland 5 times. So all of my Iceland artifacts, I have in the title the year that they're from. And then I also, in tags, I have different years. So if I want to
Yeah,
pull
that's
in
what's
from private tags, I've got, see, 2018, 2021, you name it. But in this
and
case,
why do you put the year behind the word? Like why don't you put the year in front of the word? That's my question.
oh, that's just my personal preference. There
Okay,
is no
so it
rhyme
doesn't
or
matter
reason.
because it's gonna
It doesn't matter. No.
because if you typed in, if you searched 2018, it wouldn't matter where it was searching it
Yes.
in Artifacts, like where other software, like, your Google photo, things like that, that may be an issue where it doesn't matter. So you don't have to overthink it. Like
Exactly.
that's
You don't have
type
to
A
over.
people do.
And if
Okay.
you like having the years before the title, go for it. If you like it
Okay.
after the title, if you want to put it into a tag, it's really, that's the beauty of this, is when you are artifacting, you get to customize like how you tell the story, how you save the details. Again, even as Ellen showed, how you share as well. So I've
Perfect.
got here,
Yeah.
what is it? I've got photographs, I've got the name my artifact, I've got a very short story. I'll go back and add more later. Country of origin, pick United States, just as Ellen did. Don't need to set default, I'm good to go. I'm tagged it Alaska. I'm also going to tag it. I have a tag for our family travels. Oops. I'm trying to think of what, there we go. Family travel. Perfect. I'm going to click save. And we will see the artifact.
And I think, Heather, since Kristen poked the bear, we can show how you can change the order in the timeline view so that people can see, even post fact, you're like, oh, this trip wasn't 2024, it's 2022. You can easily change it.
Yes, I will definitely do that next. So again, if I want to make it public, I could toggle the switch, but I'm going to keep this one private. And then I do want to share, I'm going to share with my dear husband, and I'm going to give him editor access this time and say, please feel free to add in any details I missed, which as you all saw, it didn't add a lot of details. Let's see what he does.
But how fun is that for him? He was with you on your trip. How fun he might have experienced it a little different than you. Like that's another awesome thing. Like it's not just you're writing in your own first person. You're letting him, I'm sure you go edit a little bit after he writes maybe, but no, I'm just kidding. But I mean, like that's just a really cool thing too, to be able to do that, to share your experience together.
It is really fun to collaborate on our artifact, especially our travel artifacts. It's always funny, like what I remember versus what he'll remember, or even our daughter. We'll share with her and give her editor access, and she'll add in really funny details. So here's the completed artifact. I can click, go back in and view it. You can see how I made that trail sign the cover photo. I can go back, reorder the photos if I want to at any point. I can go back, edit, add to the story. And then I can also, which I will do, because we're going to frame one of these photos, I can then print off a QR code. I can either print now or link it to one of our QR code stickers. Ellen has a photo, a frame photo she's done with this with. I'll let her quickly show you.
I do, and let me share. I don't think I need to share screen. I just need to talk. So this is a photo. Oh, my blurry screen. Okay, here we go. I think you can see it, and Heather can pop the link in chat. This is Muriel. My great aunt Muriel, I met her when she was 97, and she had downsized to almost nothing. And of the items she still had was this photograph that I have in this frame, and it's her. And it turns out she was a Rosie the Riveter. She, at age 20, quit working for her parents in their grocery store. The guys that would come in to grab their lunches and etc. for the day, they were going to weld at the local place. And so she's like, can women come? And they're like, So she got on the bus with them and she learned to weld. And so on the back of the photo, I have the QR code from our stickers. And so anyone comes across this, they can scan it and up pops the story. And in the case, Heather just popped it into chat. You'll see that in this artifact, she was kind of a feisty old lady. But when she saw this artifact, she got very weepy. And it took minutes to create, but she didn't think anyone actually cared about her stories. Her husband was the veteran. Her son didn't even know this part of her history. And then when she saw the video, which if you look at the artifact, you'll laugh. I played it back for her in the artifact and she's like, oh, it looks so old. And I was like, well, you kind of earned it, So the power of artifacts and the QR codes, they're great on the back of frames, on the bottom of items. If it's sensitive, in our FAQs, we tell you about buying tags, so keep it archival safe. And they're also fabulous in books so that you can get to additional photos and video.
And what a sense of belonging for her. Like you just like what you did for her that way. Like that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was a great moment. Yeah.
Awesome.
I would spend my whole life artifacting with people if I could.
And that's the really fun thing is when you get into this, and you start telling the stories behind the photos, you realize how many incredible stories and memories and adventures you've had and how much fun it is to share. So I do want to go back. Kristen and Ellen both mentioned our timeline view. So I want to share my screen and show you how, if I wanted to drag and drop that photo I just artifacted, if I remembered, wait a sec, that was actually 2 years ago, it wasn't last summer, I can do that. So I am back in my artifacts page right here. I've got a bunch of my photos from different trips I've done. I'm going to go into my timeline view. And now when you have, in my case, over 300 artifacts, I can view them all in my timeline. So I can see from most recent to on down. I'm going to go to find that one we just did and say, you know what, that was actually last year. I want to put it back to 2023. And now I can drag and drop, enter the correct date now that I remembered it, and pop it into my timeline. It was actually from 2024, so I'm not going to change it right now. But it's a very easy way to drag and drop if you don't want to go back in and essentially type and redate. Now I'm going to go right here and quickly show you another really fun thing. When you've been artifacting photos and all the stories, if you want to go to photographs and just view the photographs in your timeline, it's a really fun way to see what have you been artifacting as far as photos go. What are those stories? What are those moments in time you've captured? And I won't go all the way back, but you can kind of see I start doing, again, this is my daughter learning to ride the bike. This is the first 10K. This is a special sunset in Denmark with our Danish family. Each one of these you can click into and see. See the story, view the artifact. In this case, I will admit to being very sappy when I artifact photos of my daughter when she was younger. I write them as letters. So it's not just this is you learning to ride a bike. I write the letter and share the memory. And then of course I have the video as well. But in this case, I had dozens of photos and clips of her, but only that one where she got it. So I artifacted it.
So I want to say, you said something about you had 300 artifacts.
Yes.
So I was just thinking of easy math when Ellen mentioned the millions of photos we take on the daily. So and you just only had 3 there showing Hazel, but I'm just thinking like, oh my goodness, like if you had 300 times 5, that's so much more manageable than your 20,000 photos in your camera roll, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, clients all the time that have printed photos that, you know what I mean? Like it's just all the photos you think, it's just, I like to say, keep what tells your story. And I feel like this is really telling your story because you're really minimizing the most important thing. So that's awesome when you think of quantity.
Yeah. And like we think about quantity too, the other really fun thing is we have our tags, right? Ellen and I both highlighted that. I just typed in my tag for Iceland. I can very quickly pull up all of those photos from Iceland in a matter of seconds, rather than trying to scroll through my phone and find that trip in 2018, which is now 10,000 photos back. in a matter of seconds, I can quickly pull it up and be like, that's the sign I wanted to show you. And yes,
Right.
she is a very funny artifact. If you've ever seen Icelandic road signs, they are not for the faint of heart. Sorry, Ellen, like you were gonna jump in.
Yeah, Kristen, I just wondered, while we're on this topic of these photos and you just were talking about scrolling through phones, and we always say artifacts is the way to like rejoin the conversation. You don't have to scroll forever. You can just bring up your artifact. Someone in the chat was asking about backing up things, and I think it's great to talk about the photo managers have great training around this. Can you talk about the different formats and the number of repetitions? Can you just give that like
Sure.
30
Yeah.
second spiel?
So my main spiel is you want to be backing your things up in 3 places. So if you have your photos all on your computer, let's not talk about phones first, but on your computer, so you'd want to have it on your computer's hard drive. That would be one. Then you want to have an external hard drive, which is the ones that you plug in, and then your cloud source, whether that be your Google Photos, a Miley, wherever you're backing your photos and documents up. I like to use Carbonite, which backs up your documents and your photos. Backblaze is something else, but the cloud is not the little fluffy things that people always point to the sky when we talk about the cloud. But it's just kind of like some things have automatic backup, that like Carbonite and Backblaze where you don't have to think about it. And then when you're using your phone, the same thing. You can either plug your phone into your computer and pull your pictures off, and then back them up to the cloud. Same, have your cloud turned on all the time to back up your phone constantly. That's how mine is set up too. So but the main thing is it's just the 3-place rule. We just want it to be in 3 places.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen. I'm going to pop that in the chat so folks can have that as well. We've got a couple of questions coming in through Q&A and through chat. I'm going to try to quickly get to them. Sharing, great question. What does download my artifacts do? Let me go back and share my screen and show you. So when you download your artifacts, you can either download a single artifact or you can download your entire collection. I'm gonna pop in, let's just pop into, let's find a fun photo right here. I'm gonna go, I artifact a lot of travel photos. It seems to be a very common theme for me, partly because I take so many photos when I'm traveling, and then how do I find the ones? So here, when I want to download, I can click download. And in this case, when I'm dealing with photos, I either want to download the PDF version of the artifact, which includes the original photos and all the details. Or if I've got video and audio, I want to download the zip file version of it, which includes the original audio and video. One thing I want to note is that with artifacts, we do not compress your photo, video, or audio files when you upload them. So if you upload a video, you're not going to get a teeny tiny thumbnail of that video trying to figure out what on earth is this. You get the actual video you uploaded. The same thing with photos. If you upload a high resolution photo, say from a wedding or maybe from family photos you had taken by a professional photographer, when you download that artifact and download the original photos, you get the original back. It has not been compressed. And that's a really big factor for us. We want to ensure that whatever you upload, you're downloading in the same exact quality. So you can click PDF, zip. If you wanted to download an Excel spreadsheet, this probably doesn't pertain to photos or artifacts from photos as much, but if you're artifacting stuff and you wanted to have, say, an inventory of all the things you've artifacted, you can download the Excel spreadsheet or even the CSV file. But you simply click the preferred format, you click download, and now you have a copy of that. I did mention you can download your entire collection. So if I go here, I'm going to go back to my artifacts. I'm going to go back to my artifacts. Oops. Sorry, it's thinking. And I can choose to download my artifacts. If I click here, I'm going to download my entire collection of artifacts. All 360 something artifacts will get downloaded. But again, you can choose one or the entire collection. If I wanted to download, say, only my artifacts from my Iceland photos, I can search by that tag and then download my artifacts. This time it's only going to download the ones that I've tagged with Iceland because I've set that search parameter. I can, again, use custom tags, use words to search, or I could pick the category. If I want to download all of my artifacts that I have categorized as art, I could do that too. The other thing when you download is that you can choose with each artifact, we have that unique QR code. You also have that unique QR code for your entire collection. So you can share this. These are right now if you scan this, you'll see my public artifacts. But you can share this or download this and insert it into a photo book or insert it into, if you're writing like a memoir or whatever you happen to be doing, you can download the QR code for a single artifact or for your entire collection. Hopefully that answered that question. I want to stop sharing and see what other questions we have popping into chat. We will include a copy of this chat. We upload the episode to YouTube tomorrow, so you'll be able to rewatch this episode or share with friends and family, and also have a copy of the chat as well. Kristen, do you on carbonite and backblaze? How do you spell carbonite?
Oh, with the C.
With a C. Okay, that was my fault, folks. I spelled
Yeah,
it with
that's
a
okay.
A.
Yeah. So carbonite, and what's nice about carbonite too is I do have an external hard drive plugged in. It gives you that option. So does Backblaze, but it gives you that option to back up just your computer's drive or back up your hard drive. So because I do work for clients and I usually have a separate drive that I'll move some of that stuff over, I do like to keep that a little bit longer, but not leave it on my hard drive. So it gives you some of those options. And my husband is a wildlife and nature photographer and sells his artwork. So he uses Backblaze. I mean, he's a Mac guy with the time thing, what do you call it? Because I'm a PC girl. But you know, but he uses that, plus he uses Backblaze just for extra backup. So it's always good to be safe.
Yes, always good to be safe and private and secure. We've got
Yeah.
another question in the Q&A that came in. What does a downloaded artifact look like? So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and let people see what that looks like. So do share screen. So back to the Icelandic road sign, this is one of my, I think, funniest artifacts I have for my travels in Iceland. I'm going to click to download this artifact. I'm going to choose PDF just so you can see what the format looks like. Again, if I chose zip, I would get the original photos, if I had audio or video, all original media, as well as all the details. But I chose PDF just so you can see quickly what that looks like. I'm going to go into my downloads, pop open Icelandic road sign, and you can see it keeps the format. So we have right here the URL to go back and copy and paste that back into your browser to get back to the artifact. We have the details that I entered in. I have the story. I've got the photo. If I had additional photos in this artifact, they'd appear down here or even on the second page, depending how long the story is. This story is a fairly short story, which is why the download is fairly small. The other thing about downloading, though, is when you download your artifacts, we do know when was it originally created and when was it last edited. This is great if you're using artifacts, if you plan to export the downloads or share the downloads with your insurance agent or an estate planner if you're artifacting stuff and not just photos. So that's what a download looks like. See what other questions we have over in chat and Q&A right now.
You just mentioned insurance real quick. So before it leaves my brain, you know, I am in Naples, Florida, where we just had 2 hurricanes pass through. So I think this is a fantastic tool for people with insurance. And I just had a client reach out to me today just for me to come over and help her artifact for that reason, that she needs to do that for her insurance company and stuff. So another reason that artifact is a great thing. And then once you tag and filter things, you could just have insurance, you know, or current content or whatever you want to call your collection, correct? And then you just pull it down and here you go. They'll be amazed. That's awesome.
Yep. We don't have a ton of artwork in our house, but we do have a couple. One of them is behind me.
Mhm.
And so some of the valuable items we have in our house, my husband and I have tagged estate plan. And it sounds silly, but we know that maybe these half dozen items are actually in our estate plan. And should something ever happens to us, the artifacts and the estate plan go hand in hand. And the kids have not just oh, that's what the painting is, but that's why mom and dad have the painting. That's why they love the painting. And this is who gets the painting next. So there's a really, when you start getting into the custom tags, we like to say the sky is the limit. Like it is truly whatever, however, and whatever you can think of. I will share in our own family, we have some really functional uses for our tags. There's house maintenance. You may want to, as a founder, I can say this, we may actually artifact our HVAC filters since we can't ever remember what size they are. And when you're standing in Home Depot trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what size filter was I actually supposed to buy? It's great. Rather than scrolling through those thousands of photos, I pull up my artifacts. I can click on the house maintenance tag and I've got all of my information right there. So
That's
not
better
your
than
traditional
notes.
use-
That's better
Yeah.
than your note because you're like, where's that note?
Exactly. So not a traditional use, I think, of artifacts or artifacting photos and stories, but it is really useful. The tags really do help you. And a more relevant example, I think, is family historians and genealogists. You can artifact by family reunion, have a custom tag for it. You can pick a line of the family or an ancestor. There's so many ways you can use those tags to, again, like artifact that photo and tell the story behind it. Help your family connect the dots.
So good.
Excellent. So folks, I think we are just about done. Are there any burning questions before we sign off for the night? I am going to pop that link to the photos checklist back into chat, just so if you missed it the first time, you have easy access to it. It really is a great resource if you're sifting through bins and bins of photos, or if you're on your phone scrolling through thousands or 10,000s of photos. Here's the checklist.
I'll make a comment about something I did today too, because I was working on my phone and I did like that I was able to go to my computer and then pull up our website to, embed that URL. And I was able to, put the link and, so I think that it's great that it's desktop and phone. Like how you even said, like to do your quick stuff. And then you can go back to like when you're really thinking and being thoughtful about what you want to say. I just think it's easier to type on your keyboard a lot of times than fat fingers on your computer or on your phone, but I do love the recording, part too. I think that's amazing.
And I will admit, I hardly ever write a longer story on my phone. Like I am horrible. I make the most typos ever. So I will quickly take like the photo, the video, the audio, all of that on my phone. And then I'll click save. I've made the artifact. And then I go back. Like one of the things I love doing is like kind of just the way that I relax sometimes is I'm able to tell these stories. So I sit in bed and I'll type up a very long story, like the artifact we just did together about the trip to Skagway. I'll probably later tonight sit and go through and reminisce about all the really like the funny things that happened on that hike and how we got rained on and just all those little details. But for me, it's hard for me to do that on my phone, but I'll easily sit and write several paragraphs on my laptop. And then I've got this beautiful story that I can share with my family and friends. And I've connected this is why these photos matter. They're not just random photos of a fjord. And I've gone from now what was probably a couple dozen photos of that hike down to 5. So it's really helped me tell the story and it'll help my family remember it too, years from now. So
And Sheila's asking about, can you upload a PDF document to Artifacts? I think we skipped where you can, on the artifact where you upload a document. I think we skipped that.
yeah, there is. So yes, Sheila, let me quickly show folks. I'll go back and share my screen one more time. You can easily upload, share. If you are, oops, that's our YouTube channel. Let me pop back over to artifacts. Here we go. If I wanted to add, let's view this artifact. If I wanted to add a PDF document to this, I can go back in and edit. And we have a section called documents. Right here, documentation. I can add a file. So each artifact can have up to 5 media files, so photo, video, audio, and 3 documents. So I could, let's just be silly, I'm going to upload the PDF I just downloaded from the artifact itself, but I can upload the PDF. I can click what it is. Is it an appraisal report? Maybe it's certificate of authenticity. Maybe it's an insurance policy or genealogy record. I'm going to just make this other because it's the PDF of the artifact that I'm uploading back to the artifact. I'm going to add it. Click save. And now I have the PDF attached back into the artifact. So, and again, this is a silly example because it is the PDF of the artifact itself. I can click on the document and voila, there's the PDF document I just uploaded to the artifact. So you
And
can.
I remember on our call, sorry to interrupt you, on last
Oh,
time
great.
about where, like say you wanted to go and you wanted to put like a document from like your flyer or something that you picked up at a park but it's out online. So it's something people can download, like a link. Where
Yeah.
would you put that under document or would you put that in as a link in your description?
That if you have a link, best place for it is in your description.
Okay.
People also use some of the other fields though for that. So let me quickly show you all another way people interact with that. I'm going to go back over here 1 second, get back to that artifact. Where did they go? Here we go. You can go into, when I go to edit, I'm going to go back in and you'll see there's location field. If you have, sometimes people put like they'll put a link to a Google map down here in location. So this Icelandic road sign is from a very specific location. I could put the Google map link to that location here.
Oh, awesome.
I could, if in the case, Kristen, that you shared about the Highland cow
Yeah.
and how your husband then did this beautiful photograph of it. You could put brand or artist, you can include the URL back to his studio.
Website. Okay. Awesome.
You could include it market shop or vendor, include the URL here.
Mhm.
Or like you did, include it right here in the story description. So when you're dealing with a link back to either a document or a website, anything that has a link or URL, there are multiple ways and places you can include that URL in the artifact to connect it back to the photo, back to the story.
But for travel, I think that's fantastic. And then like say the people that are doing their photos like ancestry.com, they could actually take the link back to their ancestry.com to that page of that person to pull that data too, right?
Exactly. And that's what genealogists taught us. They are using the
Yeah.
location field completely different than how, when we were thinking about it from, the stuff perspective, when we first built Artifacts, is which wall is this photo hanging on, or which frame is it in, or which room is it in? Whereas genealogists were like, oh, no, 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 no. Location, we're putting it right back to our family tree. So we know in the case of Ellen's example of great Aunt Muriel, pop that ancestry link into location. And now you know exactly where in the family tree great Aunt Muriel is. So there's a lot of ways you can put in added details and information into the artifacts. So with that, folks, it is 9 p.m. We want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for your great questions. I hope you were able to follow along with us. Again, the link to the checklist are in chat, along with the link to our YouTube channel. We also put in clicking with Kristen's link to her site as well in here. If you have any questions or want to consult with a certified photo manager, Kristen is a great resource to help you get organized. And in her own words, leave a legacy, not a mess.
Not a mess.
We will include a link to Kristen and her company as well in the YouTube video in the description tomorrow. So you can always go back there for a resource as well. Again, thank you all for joining us and we hope you have a great night.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
everybody. Thanks, Heather.